Hello, hello! Pete's Pax here, and we're back with Throwback Thursday, episode number 27. This week we have the Seattle World Championships, August 1997, semifinalist Svend Geertsen deck. Let's see, Geertsen's extremely fast monocolored deck is loaded with an army of green creatures, Giant Growth, Bounty of the Hunt, and Winter Orb provide the only non-creature power. Control a creature deck that overwhelmed the competition. So let's take a look at this. Now, this is very similar to an existing deck or to a more modern deck in pre-modern. So let's see what the deck list is. Starting off, Geertsen, a 16-year-old high school student from Copenhagen, Denmark, played a mono-green deck affectionately known as Señor Stompy. Of the 8 finalists, Geertsen had the best record in the standard Type 2 portion of the tournament, going 6-0-1. This deck overloaded with fast green creatures, 33 in all. The only non-creature cards are Giant Growth, Bounty of the Hunt, and Winter Orb. The deck also exploits the interaction between Rogue Elephant, Harvest Worm, and Heart of Yavimaya. Very nice. Now, there is a deck called 10 Land Stompy in pre-modern that is very similar to this. So the main deck, we have 16 Forests, 2 Heart of Yavimaya, 4 Winter Orb, 4 Findhorn Elves, 4 Gazban Ogre, 4 Rogue Elephant, 4 Quarian Ranger, 3 Harvest Worm, 4 Spectral Bears, 2 Whirling Dervish, 2 Octabi Orangutan, 2 Jorel's Centaur, 3 Lurgoyf, 4 Giant Growth, 2 Bounty of the Hunt. And then for our sideboard, we have 2 River Boa, 2 Whirling Dervish, 1 Octavi Orangutan, 2 Crumble, 4 Emerald Charm, 3 City of Solitude, and 1 Bounty of the Hunt. And let's look at the other decks. So we have Jacob's Milner, fast black creature deck that splashes spells from all 5 colors. Janos Kuhn, finalist. Red, white, and blue deck built for the long game. Paul McCabe, semifinalist. A red-blue attacking deck that uses a number of efficient creatures and spells, and then this deck, Svend Geertsen, semifinalist, or Geertsen, rather, an extremely fast mono-green deck that uses a horde of creatures and very few other spells. Cool. So starting off with the sideboard, we have River Boa, 1 and a green for a 2/1 snake with Island Walk, and then for a green, it regenerates. Nice. Kind of a sticky threat that's good against mono blue decks, or any deck really that runs islands. Should be 2 of those. I thought there were 2 of those. Yeah, it says there were 2 River Boa. I just see 1. Oh. Did I miss it? Oh. Oh, this has been shuffled. Oh no, I should have checked this beforehand. Okay, no, I don't see it. Oh, River Boa, there we go. Sideboard River Boa. I'm actually going to pause real quick and rearrange this deck. Be right back. All right, and we're back. So, River Boa, art by Steve White. 1 and a green for a 2/1 snake with Island Walk and Regenerate. Good against blue opponents. Or rather, people running islands. Whirling Dervish. Green for a 1/1 summon Dervish with protection from black. If it deals damage to any opponent, put a +1/+1 counter on it at end of turn. Pretty solid. Also good against black decks. And art by Susan Van Camp. Octabi Orangutan. Art by Una Fricker. 2 and a green for a 2/2 ape. I believe it's now a monkey. When it comes into play, destroy target artifact. Just good solid removal on a body. Also, frisky monkeys. Crumble, art by Jesper Mirfors. For green, you get an instant bury target artifact. That artifact's controller gains an amount of life equal to its total casting cost. So it's destroy target artifact that can't be regenerated. Then we have Emerald Charm, art by Greg Spalenka. For green, it's an instant. Choose one. Untap target permanent, or destroy target global enchantment, or target creature loses flying until end of turn. Which is a good combat trick. And just all around useful card. City of Solitude. Art by Romas Kukalis. 2 and a green enchantment. Each player may place spells and abilities only during his or her turn. So just a good way to get around counter spells and avoid combat tricks from your opponent. We have 3 copies. Then we have Bounty of the Hunt. Art by Jeff A. Minguez. 3 green for an instant. You may remove a green card in your hand from the game instead of paying Bounty of the Hunt's casting cost. Put 3 +1/+1 counters distributed any way you choose among any number of target creatures. Remove those counters at end of turn. So, good combat trick, and can be played defensively as well. It's in the same cycle as Force of Will, and Contagion, and Pyroblast. Or not Pyroblast. Not Pyrotechnics, not Pyroblast. Huh, why can't I remember the name? Pyrokinesis, that's it. And I can never remember what the white one is. Alright, onto the main deck. We have 16 Forest with art by David O'Connor. There's 4 different arts. So, let's do that. "16 Forests" have art by David O'Connor, 4 different arts, 4 of each. Then we have Heart of Yavimaya, art by Pete Ventures. When Heart of Yavimaya comes into play, sacrifice a forest or bury Heart of Yavimaya. Now this works really well with Harvest Worm, which lets you get back a forest from your graveyard. And then taps for a green, and tap target creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Just solid utility land from alliances. And serve sort of the same utility that you would have for Pendlehaven, just a little less good defensively. We have 2 copies of Heart of Yavimaya. We have Winter Orb, art by Mark Tedden, and just that classic Bear Orb. 2-mana artifact, players cannot untap more than 1 land during their untap phases. So, you're used to bouncing your lands, sacrificing them, getting repeated uses out of them, and untapping things where your opponent probably isn't equipped to do that. We have 4 copies of Winter Orb. Still a classic stacks piece. Then we have Fenhorn Elves, which synergizes well with Winter Orb, so that you're getting mana from another source. It is a functional copy of Llanowar Elves, but for a green, it's a 1/1 Summon Elves. Tap, add green to your mana pool, play this ability as an interrupt. Keep in mind this was not usable as a mana source at the time, so you would have to add the mana to your mana pool before casting a spell if you're going to use it for that. So, fun little relic of the past. It is a mana ability now, so it doesn't really make much of a difference. We have 4 copies of Fenhorn Elves, and that has art by Justin Hampton. Gozban Ogre, art by Mark Robbie. For green, you get a 2/2 Ogre during your upkeep. If a player has more life than any other, he or she gains control of Gozban Ogre. So since you're probably the aggressor in this matchup, you're probably not going to lose control of Gozban Ogre. But we have 4 copies of that, and it's a fairly good rate. We have Rogue Elephant, art by Steve White. For a green, you get a 3/3 elephant. When it comes into play, sacrifice a forest or bury rogue elephant. So quite often you're sacrificing the forest that you use to play rogue elephant, or one that's tapped down under winter orb. The things that synergize well with that, and it goes well with harvest worm, which lets you get that back. Next we have Quirion Ranger, still an all-star in Pauper and really popular deck, or really popular card in any deck that wants to untap things a lot, like elf decks. With art by Tom Kiffin. For green, you get a 1/1 elf. Return a force you control to its owner's hand. Untap target creature. Use this ability only once each turn. You can also use this to turbocharge your mana with Fendhorn Elves. So say you play Fendhorn Elves on turn 1. You play this on turn 2 off of your forest. You can then tap the Fendhorn Elves for a mana. Activate this, bounce your forest, untap the Fendhorn Elves, and you have 3 mana at that point on turn 2, which is pretty great. We have 4 copies of Quirion Ranger. Next we have Harvest Worm. 1 and a green for a 3/2 worm. Art by Stephen L. Walsh, by the way. When it comes into play, return any basic land card from your graveyard to your hand or bury Harvest Worm. So, for instance, one of the tricks you can do, or one of the play patterns that you'll do, is again with Quirion Ranger and Fendhorn Elves, you'll bounce your land to untap the Fendhorn Elves, floating a green. Replay your land. So, say you play Fendhorn Elves on turn 1. You play Quirion Ranger with your forest. You bounce your forest to untap your Fendhorn Elves. Tap your Fendhorn Elves. You now have 2 green mana in pool. Tap your forest. Play a Rogue Elephant. Sack your forest. Play a Harvest Worm with your 2 floating mana. Get your forest back. It's now turn 2, and you have 8 power on board. So that's one of the many play patterns with this deck. We have 3 copies of Harvest Worm. Next we have Spectral Bears. Art by Pat Morrissey. 1 and a green for a 3/3 bear. If Spectral Bears is declared as an attacker and defending player controls no black cards, it does not untap during your next untap phase. So it's a 3/3 that attacks every other turn for 2 mana. Slightly above rate. We have 4 copies of Spectral Bears. Next we have another set of Whirling Dervishes with art by Susan Van Camp. Green for a 1/1 summon Dervish. Protection from black. Whenever it damages an opponent, put a +1/+1 counter on it at end of turn. Just solid attacker that grows and a good anti-black card, which a large portion of the meta was black at this point, so just all around good. Next we have Octavia Orangutan, art by Una Fricker. 2 and a green for a 2/2 summon ape. When it comes into play, destroy target artifact. Now you can use this offensively or defensively. It is just good artifact removal. Say you're tired of getting locked under your own winter orb, you can use this to remove it. So we have 2 copies. Next we have Jor-El's Centaur, art by Junior Tomlin. 1 green for a 2/2 summon Centaur with flanking. So whenever a creature without flanking is assigned to block this creature, the blocking creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. And then Jor-El's Centaur cannot be the target of spells or effects. So this is Shroud. This has been errata to have Shroud, I believe. So just good sticky attacker. Next up we have Lurgoyf. This is kind of the top end of the deck. Art by Pete Ventures. 2 green for an X/X+1. Summon Lurgoyf. Lurgoyf has power equal to the number of creature cards in all graveyards and toughness equal to 1 plus the number of creature cards in all graveyards. Sometimes this can just close out the game on its own. We have 3 copies of Lurgoyf. Next we have Giant Growth with art by D. Terlizzi, that wonderful 5th edition art. For a green, it's an instant. Target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn. It's green's lightning bolt, basically. It's a good combat trick that can also close out the game. We have 4 copies of Giant Growth. And then last but not least, we have Bounty of the Hunt again, art by Jeff A. Menges. We have 3 green for an instant. You may remove a green card in your hand from the game instead of paying Bounty of the Hunt's casting cost. Put 3 +1/+1 counters distributed any way you choose on any number of target creatures. Remove those counters at end of turn. So again, good way to close out the game. It's a surprise combat trick. You attack in with no mana untapped, and your opponent assumes nothing's going to happen. So say they go to bolt your creature or block, you can get a lot of profitable trades or interactions with that. So, all right. Well, that was Svend Geertsen's Svend Geertsen. It's mono green Stompy deck, aka Señor Stompy, from the 1997 World Championships. It's a semifinalist, and yeah, we still play a deck very similar to this in pre-modern, even today. So, well, as always, thank you for joining me on this adventure. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff for the algorithm. I really appreciate it, and it really helps us out. We are in a push to get to 1,000 subscribers, so if you're not subscribed, please consider it. And if you are, thank you. It really means a lot to me and helps us grow. But until next time, stay awesome. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.